Okay, today we're going to continue in Siman Tov Kuf Pei Aleph, and we're going to be moving on in life to Sif Gimel. This is a very exciting day because we are going to be learning some new material, very important material, in fact. The Shulchan Aruch over here begins by writing, a Neuflin. A Neuflin al Paneim Be'erev Rosh Hashanah B'Tfilah. There is no Tachnun. On the eve of Rosh Hashanah, the day before Rosh Hashanah, there is no Tachnun. Why not? We'll see. Even though there is Tachnun, if you would do Slichos early in the morning, I think that this is referring to before dawn. And as we already learned in Sif Alfein, Toikin Be'erev Rosh Hashanah, we do not blow shofar on the eve of Rosh Hashanah as well. We will see why. Sift Alit, Mikapsun Umisaprin Be'erev Rosh Hashanah. We could actually do laundry and take haircut / shave and trim our beards on Erev Rosh Hashanah. Why would you think you can't? We will see.
There's a
This
Pesach,
is
no?
Siv Gimel, nothing to do with Pesach, but nice try. So this is Siv Gimel, and this is Sif A over here. Let's start dissecting. We'll go straight down to the Mishnah Brewers, and then we will see where we will go from there. Because this is like other the eve of other holidays that we do. And therefore, even though we fall on our faces in the morning, even if the slichos you started before dawn and it continued into the day, still you would do tachlin in there. Because most times you finish slichos by dawn on Erev Rosh Hashanah, halavai. Tiknu linfo lafimeda pam echad shemam shirayom, and therefore they enacted that you would, in fact, go down when you do tachdun, even if it occurred that one time it continued until the day. Why don't we blow shofar?
Before you go further, so like people practically do say tachanan by day, so why don't we just say by davening? Like it seems like it's saying it's like other Arab Yom Tov, but
This is
Yom is different.
this is talking about just slichos. Just slichos.
Just say sleep, but you can't say the other one.
Carefully. During the actual davening, you don't do tachton. Okay. Because it's like a regular Rav Yom Tov. However, during slichos you do. Why? Because most times you finish before dawn.
But nowadays it's different. Most times you don't.
So we're gonna have to see nowadays. Because what this is saying is even if it continued after dawn, you would still do slichos because most times you finish before dawn. That's what this is saying. So we have to see if a lot of the minyanim don't finish before dawn. We're going to have to see if this changes. We're going to have to pay attention to that, see if that comes up. Mishnah Bruin in the next one says, why don't we blow shofar? The reason is the hafsik being techios dereshos techios techayva. In order to interrupt between the optional techios and the mandatory tekiyos, we are actually going to see this is straight out of the Magen Avraham. And even if the first day of Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, we also do not blow the shofar on Erev Shabbos. Okay. Nevertheless, you're allowed to blow shofar in order to learn how to blow shofar on Erev Rosh Hashanah. However, the truth of the matter is not so simple. It's enough if you stop in shul. However, Aval Magen Avraham quotes all of this. However, the Sefer, the Magen Avraham quotes his other Sefer, but Menhagim, he says that no, the reason why we don't blow shofar is in order to trick the Satan, and he won't know what's going on. And therefore, you shouldn't blow shofar at all. aka even if you're doing it to learn how to blow the shofar and to practice, etc. However, the Eli Rabbah quotes the Sefer Amar Kal, who said that it's implied that if you are blowing shofar to learn and to practice blowing it, you're the Baal Tokei on Rosh Hashanah, that's permissible in a closed room. So it comes out that in Erev Rosh Hashanah, it's only permissible if it's in a closed room and if it's to learn how to do it. Pretty cool. Okay, we do laundry and we get haircuts on Erev Rosh Hashanah. Laharos to show. Sha'anu betuchim bechazdo yizbarach sheyoitzi l'sedek mishpatenu. to show that we are guaranteed with the kindness of Hashem. That we believe, we have faith in the kindness of Hashem, and that our judgment was ended in a successful manner, and that it ended up good. That's why we could do all of these. We could actually shave and get haircuts, which symbolize that success. That's what it symbolizes. Mikol makom lo yilbush Rosh Hashanah big day rikma. Nevertheless, do not wear clothing that is a rikma. V'meshi. Meshi is silk. Kibishar yom tov, like on other yomim tovim. The moire hadin Allah, because the fear of the judgment should in fact be upon you. Ella, rather yilbush begodim levanim naim. Rather, you should wear clothing that is white and that is good. That's the Taz quoting the Marshal. Look at the Magen Avram in a place where there is no custom to wear white. Don't wear it so special. In other words, let's just backtrack. This is huge in terms of how important this is. It cannot be overemphasized. What this is saying is, look, Rosh Hashanah is a special time, and really this is a theme that is going to come up in other places in Hilchos Rosh Hashanah. On the one hand, it's a time when there's din v'cheshbon. We're getting judged, and it's a serious time, etc. On the other hand, it's a time when, so therefore, according to that, we shouldn't eat, we shouldn't drink, etc. No, but we know that we're going to be victorious with our judgment, and that's why we eat, we drink. That's why we wear nice clothing, but it shouldn't be as nice as other Yomim Tovim, because we have to have the fear of Rosh Hashanah on us. But then he says, look at this. The Taz says you wear white clothing. Now, this is what we call in English a kittel. All right? We don't really do this, and we're going to see. The Magen Avram, in fact, says in a place where there's no minhag to wear the kittel on Rosh Hashanah, then you don't wear it. But it shouldn't be too important also. Nowadays, the custom is in a lot of places, the Chazan wears it, maybe the Baal Tokeya wears it, the person who's going to blow the shofar. But we're going to come back to this. Anyways,
Wait, so if you're in a place
yeah.
where everyone wears a kittel, then you should wear it.
No, you can do whatever you want. But we're going to come back to that kittel business. But this is the end of this siman. We actually made it here. Sif Aleph is basically like 10 times longer than all the other sifim combined. But this is, oh no, actually, we forgot this Ramah. We have this Ramah at the end who's going to talk about actually Tefillah b'mikveh and going to Kavados. Okay, so we have to also do that Ramah. You know what? Let's just finish this raw, and then we'll go into this more and see what the other Mefarshim say. The Ramah concludes the siman by saying, "V'yishno hagin litval ber Rosh Hashanah mishum keri." There's a custom to tovel in the mikveh. Should go in the mikveh on Erev Rosh Hashanah because of keri. That's the mission that we might have had. So what this is saying over here is there's a minhag to go. Doesn't say anywhere that you're mechuyev to go. There's no obligation to go to the mikveh Erev Rosh Hashanah. There's an idea of going. Now, it's mashma that this whole reason is only mishum keri, which implies that if a person went to the mikveh recently, and in the interim there was no keri, no tashmish, no keri, so then it seems like there wouldn't be a reason to go to the mikveh according to the Shema. He's coming on to carry. In some places, they have the custom to go on the graves, cemetery, and you add some prayers over there, and you give some charity to the poor people. What this is saying is it's a minhag, right? Which means you don't have to go. It's custom. So that's the common denominator between the mikvah and Erev Rosh Hashanah and going to the cemetery. Take a look at what the Mishnah Berurah over here says. No hagin litbel. Let's say the only mikvah around you, it's got freezing cold water. Not a problem where we live, but let's say instead of going to that mikvah, which is freezing, you could pour a measurement of 9 kav of water on your body. I think in English we would call this a shower. V'lo yachtim litbol ad sha'a koidim chatzos hayom. Now you shouldn't go with the false start over here. You don't want to go to the mikvah before halachic midday, before chatzos. Right? He actually says over here, v'lo yachtim ad sha'a kodim chatzos, until 1 hour before chatzos. He doesn't want you going an hour before chatzos, actually. So that's going to be already 1 hour before halachic midday. You could already start going to the mikvah. It's the chayadam. V'ish ma'achroinim shekasvu shenachoin limnoas mulashamish mitasoi b'shnei lailo Rosh Hashana. Some ma'achroinim say that it's correct to refrain from tashmish on the first 2 nights of Rosh Hashanah. Elohim Kain, Haisalel Tavila Da'az Chayiv L'Kayim Ana. So unless it was the night when one's wife went to the mikvah, in which case it's a Chayiv Avona, then it would be already an obligation to be with her. And then V'yachzor V'yitvol B'shachris. Then you should return and go to the mikvah in the morning. So you clearly see that if a person did have Tashmish Rosh Hashanah, you should be heading over to the mikvah. It's the idea of going to Rosh Hashanah, you see it a little bit stronger than the Mishnah Berurah, than the Ramah, who said that it was a minhag. From over here, you see the Mishnah Berurah is really commanding you. He's saying, and then you should go to the mikveh. So you see from the Mishnah Berurah, pretty strong basis to go to the mikveh on Erev Rosh Hashanah. Okay, stronger than the Ramah. However, what about those people who are eating until their stomach is satiated? Or chas v'shalom, they're having improper thoughts about women. In other words, if a guy needs to be with his wife, so then it's better for him to be with his wife than, God forbid, come to sin. A.k.a. Zera Lovatala. And then he should return and go to the mikveh in the morning. This is the Chayyadim. This whole thing could be straight out of the Chayyadim. This might not even be the Mishnah Berurah even up here. But the Mishnah Berurah is quoting the Chayyadim, which is pretty serious about going to the mikveh, making sure you go into Rosh Hashanah with a clean situation there. Why is there a custom to go to the cemeteries? The Beis HaKvaros hu makom menuchas hasadikim v'hatfilin eskablo sham yoiser. Cemetery is a place where righteous people rest, and it's a place where our tefillos, our prayers are answered more. But don't be like, oh, you, Mr. Dead Person, you're what's going to cause my success.
Right, and when are they going? Like, is it still the Erev, or it could be like
Before Rosh Hashanah.
Week before?
He doesn't say over here. Sometime before. Sometime before. He doesn't say over here. It seems like the simple reading of this would be the actual day.
The day before?
Meaning, if Rosh Hashanah starts tonight, we go today.
Yeah.
That's a simple explanation of Erev, that day.
But Erev is usually busy, so it would be
That's right.
not practical.
And
I mean, yeah.
what are you busy with? You're cooking the food? You figure it out. Say, get whatever you need to get done before. There you go. Get a head start. Chav Zayin. It's a place where the tzaddikim rest, and the tefillos are heard more. But you should request that Hashem should put mercy on you in the merit of the tzaddikim who are dwelling in the dirt. In other words, you are basically using these tzaddikim as a tool, so to say, as a messenger, an intermediary to get your tefillas answered. Really, we're davening to Hashem. But we're just saying, Hashem, have mercy on us in the merit of these righteous people who are buried in the dirt here. The Yakif Akvaros. You could walk around all the graves there. Not on the graves, but around. You give charity before you start praying over there. Don't go on a grave, on one grave, 2 times in the same day. You know, you read this Mishnah Berurah at the end of the Simon, and you're like, what on earth is this talking about? Why not? You want to stump someone on a Mishnah Berurah, stump them on this. Say, what on earth is the pshat in this last Mishnah Berurah in the first Simon of Hilchos Rosh Hashana? You can't go on one grave 2 times in the same day. Anyone? Anyone got a pshat? Anyone out there? Anyone out there? What?
No, but
It's
is there any
fiat.
other
Go
way
ahead.
to a grave? There's no pathway to a grave.
What?
It's too depressing.
Too depressing? So, but you could go to all the other graves. We're saying you could go to 50,000 graves, but if you're going to go to one grave, leave and then come back, you can't do that.
Yeah, don't.
What does that have to do with anything?
And what do you mean by v'yakif kfaros? What you should
If you circle around, you go around, walk around, go to
you
different
make a
ones.
you make a kafas? I mean,
Yeah, Hakaf is Simchas Torah early. You go around to different graves. What on earth is the explanation over here? I know the explanation. I just want everyone to think. Let's take a look over here briefly at the Shulchan Aruch. We'll spend around a minute or two on this at most. Taz says you want to interrupt between the tekiyos which are dirabanan and the tekiyos of Rosh Hashanah which are daraisa. That's why you stop blowing on Erev Rosh Hashanah. This is the Magen Avraham Yudalid. You want to separate between tekiyos the rishus, tekiyos the chayveh, we saw in the Mishnah Berurah, the optional tekiyos and the mandatory ones. However, you could do it to learn. However, you shouldn't do it in order to trick the Satan. You shouldn't do it at all. And then the Pri Megadim on this has a follow-up and quotes the Eliyah Rabbah, which we saw quoted by the Mishnah Berurah, said if it's in a closed room, then you could do it on Rosh Hashanah. But if not, then you can't. This is the Magen Avraham, who went into the whole Tashmish thing. All of this was straight into the Mishnah Berurah. It seems like the Indian is going to Kivrei Sadikim Lishtateyach al Kivrei Sadikim. And then the Magen Avraham concludes, don't go to one grave twice in the same day. This is the Torah. This is the Torah was saying pshat in Rishon Hu Cheshbon Avonos. It's the first day of calculation of sins, the first day of Sukkot. Why? Basically, the answer is we're busy with mitzvahs. Until then, you won't sin anyways. But look at this idea over here. It says you bathe yourself and you get haircuts. Amar Rabbi Simon, Kimi Goy Gadol. Who is a nation great like this? Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Yeshua say, Eza Uma Ka'uma Zo. Which nation is like this nation? Sheyoidas Oifya Shel Eloika. You know the way of Hashem. The way of the world. If a person has a court case and he can be sentenced to life sentence, what's he gonna wear? Black clothing. He's gonna have his beard grown out, his hair, his nails are not gonna be cut. He doesn't know what's gonna happen, and he's so nervous. Aval Yisrael Einam Cain, but we're not like this. We wear nice clothing, white. We trim our beards. We get that haircut going. We cut our nails. We eat. We drink. We rejoice on Rosh Hashanah because we know the Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yaseh Lahem Neis. Hashem will make a miracle for us, and we will be victorious in our judgment. And therefore, Tikach no Hagin. Therefore, there's a custom to get a haircut and to do laundry in Rosh Hashanah.
why does he call it a miracle?
A miracle. We will be miraculously judged positively, even though we are not deserving.
That's the nace.
That's the nace.
I mean, normally we call that a chesed. We call that Hashem Kel Rachem
It's
V'chanu.
miraculous.
We
Let's
never
take a
call
look
it
at
a
the
nace.
Piskei first, And if we have time, we will do those V'Hadar Mishnah Brew. And if we have more time, we will finish Kol HaTorah Kula. Okay, Big 11. This is where we need to be. What does it say here? Many people in holy congregations are not stringent to wear white. Just the chazan and the person who's going to blow the shofar, the Baal Tokeya. And maybe the person who's going to tell the person blowing the shofar what to blow. Nahara Nahara Pashte. Do whatever you want. River flows its way. Yom Kippur! The spread custom is that everyone wears white. However, there is still a common custom. You change the paroikis in front of the Aron Kodesh, and maybe the covers for the Sifrei Torah white. You change a lot of the things over there. The cloth that's on the bima, it's on the stender where the chazan davens, all that, you go white. Questions, comments, and anything that we did today whatsoever?
No.
In that case, moving right along, we are going to now dissect what it says in the Oz V'Hadar Mishnah Berurah. Forgot to open this before. Apologies. You know, we have to realize Erev Rosh Hashanah, we're still saying Lamed Hatzeach and Keler Echapayim. That's an important point. The Lavush explains we say Lamed Hatzeach because in Lamed Hatzeach we mention Yanucha Hashem b'yoyim sara. Hashem should answer me in a day of distress, and as we learned yesterday, there's a custom to fast. That reminded me. I wanted to get back to a point that I messed up with yesterday. Yesterday we discussed, too bad that it's not on yesterday's recording, because if anyone just watches yesterday and then doesn't watch today's, then they are going to have a misunderstanding about an important point regarding fasts. When this fast, the fasting on Erev Rosh Hashanah, up until Rosh Hashanah, the fast does not go until nighttime because, as we learned yesterday, you don't want to go into Yontif when you're fasting. You fast until Plaga Mincha, the latest. And then he says you should have a Mincha before you break your fast. Many people, they fast until
Chatzos?
a little after Chatzos, Mincha Gedola, half an hour after Chatzos, and then they daven mincha before they eat. However, some say, don't worry about the mincha there before you eat. You could break the fast. However, others don't even fast. They just make a siyum. This for sure applies if you have a bris that day or another suda that's a mitzvah. Then you don't need to. Different customs. It's a custom to fast, not a halacha. You don't need to. That's what the Lavush says over here. The obvious question on the Lavush is that the Eliezuta asks, why do you need to provide this reason over here that it's a fast day and therefore you say Lamed Hatzeach? What do you mean? Every single Erev Yontif we say Lamed Hatzeach, except for Erev Yom Kippur and Erev Pesach for other reasons. And you don't have the fast reason that applies, so just say it's like an Erev Yontif. Answers the Eliezuta, Havamino, you would have thought that Erev Rosh Hashanah is considered more than a Yontif. Because the kapara, the atonement, already begins on Erev Rosh Hashanah. Like the Torah says, quoting the Medrash, as we learned yesterday and a couple sessions ago. And therefore, the Lavush says, even so that it's already, you're getting the atonement, then you would think that it's a... You still say it. Still say Lamed Hatzeach. That is the Eliezuta explaining the Lavush. Beautiful idea. It seems like it was just enacted. You just do slichos. You do tachnan by slichos no matter what. No matter what. That's what it seems like from this. It's what to look into there. This next part over here, he calls the Torah. Guess what? We already saw the Torah. So we don't need to see that again. You wear nice clothing, frame from having relations. The Rabbah says, the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah says, what do you mean? Sarah and Rachel and Chana, they all became pregnant on Rosh Hashanah. Nifkeda Sarah, Rachel, v'Chana. Telling me cut back on relations. What do you mean? That's exactly when they became pregnant.
Randy, you go.
How's it going?
Hey, everything's fine. Have a beautiful
Everything's good.
day.
Don't worry, man.
Okay, I'll see you later. Okay.
Yeah, see you later. Have a good one. Rosh Hashanah, the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah state, it says on Daf Yud Aleph, they all became pregnant on Rosh Hashanah.
Morning, good morning.
Morning. So how then could we reconcile that with the halacha?
As opposed to
David, what's your answer, huh? You're doing a lot of talking over there. What's your
there's
answer?
only the post guy, right? Post office worker. He agreed with the big hole. I didn't hear the question.
You didn't hear a question? All right, you hopped the recording. Too bad.
Fine.
No, I'm just kidding. The question is, you were saying over here that you shouldn't have relations on Rosh Hashanah, but all these people, Sarah, Rachel, Chana, they all became pregnant on Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
How do you answer that?
Tired.
Before the Torah? What do you mean before the Torah? Chana was before the Torah?
Yeah.
Chana?
No, not kind of.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Even if it's before the Torah, they tried to keep it before it was given to what are you talking about? Any other any answers over there? Anyone? You?
I don't know.
All right. Any answers from Pennsylvania?
We can't.
Yeah, back in Rockaway.
Eh? I know, but maybe you found some answers in Pennsylvania. So the basic idea is comes along the Aliyah Rabbah and says it could have been that they had to go to the mikveh that night. That was Lil Tavila. Number one, or another potential answer is nifkeda. What does nifkeda mean? That means it was decreed that they would have children on that day. Not that they became pregnant on that day.
Yeah.
So those are two answers that the Aliyah Rabbah provides over here. What is it? What's cooking over here in this footnote? It's clear from Rosh. Also, she was remembered on that day. Cham Sofer also goes into this more, different explanations, calculations. But we said when you go to the cemetery, don't place all your hope in the dead people over there. Prima Godin quotes Eli Rabba, quoting the Maharil, who says that a cemetery is a makom kadosh v'tahar. It's a holy place and a pure place. Interesting to call it pure because you go in there, you become tummy. That's why you got to wash your hands after. And kohanim aren't even allowed in there. But what it means is that it's olam ha'emes. That's what it is. This world is a world of fakeness, of losers. People who are pretending that it's all pretend, it's all fake, it's all show. That's where reality kicks in the grave. Take nothing with you except for Torah and good deeds, like it says in 6 paragraphs. Mitzvahs that we do. So a person should have in mind that Hashem should have mercy on us in the merit of these righteous people. Or the Prima Gadim says, also our soul, we're praying that it should be good. There's different explanations over here, but it seems like there's an idea of going to cemeteries specifically of righteous people, not wicked people. Keep that in mind.
There's no Indian of visiting your parents. I mean, one's not saying their parents aren't tzaddikim, but we're talking, I guess, about, big rabbanim, I would gather, not just
Yeah,
relatives.
there is a strong custom to go to family also that came from this. We're assuming that they're righteous, all that. But
But
yeah,
the
it seems
righteous
like
Misa Mechaper?
what?
Maybe Misa Mechaper? I don't know.
Nisim Mechaper, what?
Misa, death, atones.
Oh, the Misa is Mechaper. Yeah, on some degree. But it seems like primarily you go to righteous people. That's the idea. Why don't you go to one grave on the same day twice? Answer's right here. It's in the Savav Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid, the Magen Avram, quoting that Arizal. That's the source of this. What's the reason though? Funo nun vav, take it down here. He says, Rabbi Yehuda Chassid says, you don't do it, don't go back. And the Sefer Ginzi Chaim explains, someone who is regular to go, he was sent by others to go to daven by these graves. And he went to one grave in the morning and he davened there. And then someone else sent him to that exact grave. And he said, am I allowed to go back to that grave? So he wanted to be medayik. He said that it's implied from the will of Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, from his Savah, that only in a situation רק באופן שיכול לבקש כל רצונו בפעם אחת, יש קפידה שלא יחלק. בקשייסov ותחינויסov בשתי הליכos. Only in a situation if you were able to request everything you wanted to request on the first time, then we're saying, don't go a second time. However, in a situation where the first time you didn't have in mind what you were going to ask completely, aka someone else sent you, then you're allowed to go. Wow, big leniency. According to this, the Sefer Evan Yaakov, Simon Dalit says, same thing itself, same halacha applies. The person said after he left, wow, I forgot to pray for that. He's allowed to go back an additional time. Furthermore, it's written in the name of the Evan Yaakov, another reason to allow you to go a second time, if you have something new, based on what the Damashek Eliezer says, based on the will for Yehuda Chassid, the Savah. The reason why you don't go to the grave twice in one day is mishum shemagali al yedeza shameis lo has pala avur b'pam rishon v'yesh bizayon lameis shemachshavu la'achzar. When you go back a second time, you're going for double dips over there. You're double dipping on a grave. When you go back a second time on the same day, you're essentially demonstrating that the person whose grave that you went to, the deceased, didn't pray for you the first time. That's a disgrace to the deceased. Shows cruelty. And therefore, if you're going to answer something new, you could go a second time. In other words, you can't go to the same grave on the same day because it shows, oh, he didn't help me and my tefillah is going to answer the first time. It's disgrace to the deceased. However, if you had something new that you were going to add or someone else sent you specifically to go there and daven on their behalf, that's permissible. Because it's not the disgrace anymore. You're davening for something new. So if you want to go back a second time, you got to just daven for something new. Any questions or comments on anything that we learned today whatsoever?
When it says go back a second time, then you're leaving the graveyard, or you're just going to another kever and you're coming back to that
Either.
kever?
If you have something new that you're going to daven about, you could go back.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
Meaning, let's say you go to the cemetery and the way it's set up, you go to one kever and then you go to another kever, further away, and then on your way back, you're gonna walk by that same one.
That's right. And you could go there if you have something new to daven about that you didn't daven about the first time.
But should you even go a different way back? And it's wherever
Makes
you're.
no difference.
Mm.
The remaining 2 minutes we have, we're going to recap the Kavod Shaya, yesterday's Parsha, about why were the people in the time of Shmuel at fault for requesting a king. After all, it's a mitzvah in this week's Parsha to request kings. Soim tosim alecha melech, shetiyeh moscha lecho. The fear of king should be upon you. It's a mitzvah. Few answers. It's an insult to Shmuel that they were trying to appoint the king during his lifetime. They didn't appoint the king to fulfill the mitzvah of appointing a king. They were just tired of Shmuel's leadership. Answer 2, they asked for the king prematurely. That's the Meiri. Answer 3, they weren't looking for a king to enforce halacha. They were looking for a king to enforce secular law. That's not what our kings are about. They want it to be like the other nations. We don't want to be run by secular law, Torah law. Explanation number 4, answer number 4. They wanted a king for military reasons, that he could be the commander. He could be a good military fighter. That's important. However, that's not the main goal of the king. Main goal of the king, he should have good character and be pious, be righteous. Other people will learn from that. Answer 5, the Kli Yakar says, what's the goal of the king over here? To instill fear on the nation. That's the goal of the king. We don't need a king to be a police officer. We have Beis Din for that. They're going to take care of that. There's other people. He has to make sure the country and its people and his people are running properly. King. They wanted the king. Why? Not to that they could fear the king, but that the king should fear them. And then we tied in at the end. That was the story to Rabbi Yosef and Kisma. They wanted him as a rabbi. They didn't want him as a rabbi so that they could fear him and listen to him. They wanted the rabbi to fear them and that they could do what they want. They wanted, oh, it's going to bring them honor, going to bring them respect. Now it's a good public figure, good puppet. That's why I said, you give me all the cash in the world, I ain't moving. Anyways, that's a recap from yesterday. For the full discussion, see the video on the Dvarim playlist for more details.
For
all the cash.
It sounds like a
What
good
about all the cash?
What, David?
What about all?
Can't hear. What's wrong with the secular law is that you do it
what's
when,
lost?
based on Mikdash is around, we're in Eretz Yisrael, we got to live by Jewish law, not secular law. What's wrong by secular law? Look at what's happening now with all the chaos in Israel with the army and everything. And when a country gets run by people who aren't religious, they do all sorts of things that are contrary to Torah beliefs, such as having same-gender parades in public on Shabbos, right? Etc. So that's the problem. It's in violation of Torah law. Can't do that. That's the problem.
Same gender.
Same gender, yeah.
What
Same gender.
does that mean?
What does that mean? Mishkav Zachor? Parades in public?
I mean, like everyone needs one.
That's right. Everyone should have a wonderful Shabbos.